Welcome, friends. Today, we are doing another fragrance rotation video for the week ending the 16th of October, 2022. Nice. So, this week contains my birthday. Nice. Something I have enjoyed. And the fragrance I wore on my birthday will obviously be included in the list, but it is a bit of a madness. So, let's get to it, shall we? I should also start by saying that it has been rather cold this week. It's certainly heading towards the winter, you know? So, that is something to bear in mind as we get further and further through my rotation videos, as they will reflect the weather, as they always do. I think the weather and the temperature is always like one of the greatest factors when deciding what fragrance to wear. Also, what mood you're in on the day that you wake up. But enough of this. Let us begin. And on Monday, I decided to wear, for the first time in this rotation cycle, also by Perfume and Roma. This is a smoky, piney, resinous fragrance. It's absolutely stunning. It does have shades of Feel and Agile, but it's a lot more smoky for me. And it's not as complex or well blended. You know, it's not as French. Obviously because it's an Italian house. But it's not as French in style or like composition. But it does have that pine, resin, sap, smoky thing going on. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. Perfect for October, November. December. Not sure about the winter months though. January, February. You know? It's I don't know. It just smells like autumnal to me, if that makes sense. Performance is massive. Could smell it all day, and so could everybody else. And yes, you can expect to see that one again soon. So, continuing on with the sweet and powerful theme established by Arso, I decided to wear the original Charles of the Ritz version of Opium. This is sweet and resinous and a little spicy, narcotic. Smells totally different on a man than it does on a woman. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love this stuff. I've got another bottle which is full, but I intend to try and use this one up first. The sprayer is absolutely appalling on this one. I'm not sure what it's like on the other one I've got, but the sprayer on this one's not great. I get huge amount of cloves. I get florals, but nothing too much. It's balanced absolutely beautifully. You know, it's extremely well made from a time when YSL was right up there at the forefront of designer perfume. I get dark fruit, like plum. You get a bit of pepper, the cinnamon, patchouli, big patchouli. It's like sandalwood, and there's loads of resins in it, like balsamic resin. Tiny little bit leathery, but it's not like leather. It's like more like that sort of, the heft of leather, you know, the size of leather, the strength of leather. And I really like this stuff, and I will be wearing it again. Again, for me, this is an autumnal perfume. I've sort of put it in that bracket. Obviously, it was huge year round with women of a certain vintage, you know. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. Okay, Wednesday. Again, the first time I've worn this in this year's rotation, and this is the only good fragrance from the house, in my opinion. And it is Bond Number 9's New Harlem. New Harlem is absolutely fantastic, and I had to wear this to remind myself that Maurice Roussel wasn't always putting out stuff like Uncut Gem, you know. I think this was released in the early 2000s, one of the earliest perfumes from the house, you know. It's fantastic though. It's meant to smell like a New York breakfast from what I can remember of it. Like, it's meant to have like the maple syrup and the waffles and the coffee. But if you look at the notes online, it's stuff like lavender, coffee, vanilla, patchouli, tonka bean. For me, this is a massive tonka bean fragrance now. I get roasted tonka bean from it, almost nutty. And it's brilliant. I mean, they've never topped it. At the very least, I'll say they've never topped it. But for me, it's their best fragrance. The performance is fantastic. They have just re-released it. This is a vintage. They have re-released it for $375. Don't pay that. It's not worth that. But it is very good as a gourmand. And I don't have that many gourmands, but that's a good one. Next, on Thursday, I decided to wear, again, for the first time, this year anyway. No, I only bought this year. I decided to wear Maison Crivelli Patchouli Magnétique. Or Patchouli Magnetic. Don't know why I pronounced it like that. It was launched in 2022 and it was made by Quentin Biche. Biche Mode. This is lovely. Very modern, but without being metallic or futuristic or so abstract that you can't come to terms with it. It really is fantastic, this, so I really enjoyed it. It's a patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood, benzoin, peach. So I got the peach in this, like a fruity, juicy peach in this, hugely so. It's very well made, and it starts off with that like peach, like flesh, not the skin, the flesh, like the juicy like aspect of a peach, you know. And it's got the darkness from the patchouli, but it's, for me, the most lingering aspect of this fragrance, and it does linger. It got on me clothes, and I've been able to smell it ever since on this hoodie I've got. Even over one of the other fragrances that I wore. A couple of days later. I'll come to that in a second. But it's like this creamy, vanillic, sandalwood, benzoin dry down, which is beautiful. It's so nice. It's so pleasant. This is almost gourmand. in that sort of way. The patchouli sort of like weights against it, you know, so it's like a counterbalance, so it doesn't go too far in that direction, but it does go a long way. Very expensive, but if you look at the ingredients and the raw materials that they've used, it is understandable why when you see what some houses do. This is a 50 ml, and I think it goes for about 200 quid. But when you see some fragrances and what they go for, this is well worth it, in my opinion. So, Friday the 14th of October, my birthday. And on my birthday, I decided to wear something extremely special. I'll give you a second to guess what it is. Incorrect. Unless you were correct. I decided to wear vintage Guerlain Derby. I went out for a meal. I went out to a museum, had a nice day, a lovely day. This was with me all day, and I absolutely loved it. I smelled better than everyone else. It's really strange, this perfume, though, because the vintage one has this outrageous top note of mint, right? And the mint really shines on my skin. It reminds me of Un Air de Samsara by Guerlain as well, which has got this really nice but subtle mint note as well. Absolutely beautiful. It's blended to perfection. It's Jean-Paul Guerlain at his best, in my opinion. Nutmeg, oak moss, leather, sandalwood. And you get that almost like Chanel-like heart with like the jasmine and the rose. But the notes I really look forward to in this are the mint and the nutmeg. Obviously the oak moss as well. And the leather. But yes, I really enjoyed wearing this. It really is a very special fragrance, and I'm glad I've got as much of that as I have. You know. So, next day, I decided to wear something similar but different. And this is the first time I've worn this, I think this year maybe. I may have worn it in the winter early this year, but it's the first time I've worn it in this cycle, if that makes sense. And this is L'air du désert Marocain by Andy Tower. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. It's a brilliant fragrance. Absolutely everything about it. The fact that he's a self-taught perfumer and still managed to make a perfume like this is an outrageous credit to him. It was released in 2005. It was the second from the house. And I don't want to say it's become ubiquitous in the community, but it's very, very, very famous and very, very, very popular. And don't think just because of that you want to stay clear of it, because it is absolutely brilliant. It's got this warm, spicy top, like coriander, cumin, a bit of jasmine, and then it's got this outrageous dryness from like the vetiver, the cedar, and the birch. Of course, there's oak moss in it as well, but mainly, most of all, this is an amber, and it is one of the best ambers ever. Its sequel, not its flanker, its sequel, Au Cours du Desert, which I also own, is more of an amber, but I feel like this is probably a more balanced fragrance. Coda Desert really leans into the amber aspect. This tries to be more balanced with like the birch and the coriander as well. Almost everyone will like this fragrance. It can't be denied. What I was going to say was, I wore this 2 days after I wore Patchouli Magnetic, and I could still smell Patchouli Magnetic through this fragrance, and this is a powerful fragrance. Because I wore the same hoodie. Like, I wasn't wearing the hoodie on the Friday, but I wore it on the Thursday. And then I wore this on the Saturday, and I wore the same hoodie on the Saturday, and I could still smell the Patchouli Magnetic. Every time I was like smelling myself, I was like, oh, it smells very creamy. And it didn't occur to us until that day, till later that day, that in fact what I was smelling was the Patchouli Magnetic on my hoodie. So it's a pretty strong fragrance, that one. But I love this stuff. I can't ever see myself being without a bottle. I have actually bought it back up. It's never suffered from bad reformulations, but I've got it back up because he had to put his prices up recently, and it's the first time he's had to put his prices up in years. So it's a great company, Andy Tower. I would highly suggest that you investigate the house if you haven't already. Now, today, scent of the day. Again, the first time I have worn this fragrance since last year, probably. And this is one of my favourites by one of my favourite houses. It is Volutes by Diptyque. This is an amazing tobacco fragrance. I always thought there was like a blackcurrant, blackberry kind of note in it, but there isn't. It's tobacco, iris, honey, another styrax, and there's something else. I think this is the eau de parfum, and I think the eau de parfum suits the fragrance more than the eau de toilette. There is an eau de toilette version, but it's not as easy to find. It might even be discontinued. But this is an awesome tobacco fragrance. It's to me, it's more of an iris honey sort of thing. You know, very soft, very sweet. Performance is great. But it's beautiful again. Unisex with the iris. The iris gives it this like unisex thing. The honey is sweet, but it's not sweet like Baccarat Rouge sweet. It's not sweet like sucrose sweet, like tobacco vanille sweet. It's just right. It's balanced perfectly. I think it was Pellegrin who made this, and it was very well made as well. So, that brings us to the end of my fragrance rotation for this week, my birthday week. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody who has wished me a happy birthday. You are very kind. And the people who have donated via coffee, I really appreciate it. You don't have to do that. So, thanks, everyone. I will see you again soon. Bye.